Okay, here it being 7 o'clock, I would like to call to order a meeting of the Hingham Board of Selectmen for Thursday evening, August 13th, 2020. I would begin by making the following statement. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12th, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Heidi, if you could please open up phone lines, may I please ask that if anyone is recording this meeting, if you could please at this time identify yourself by either using the raise hand function or by speaking if you are not calling into this meeting via video. Okay, seeing none. First item of business on our agenda is the approval of minutes. And we have 4 sets of meeting minutes. We have minutes from July 7, July 9, July 14, and August 11th. Joe and Bill, I have read and provided feedback to Heidi. I'm ready to vote all these minutes if both of you are.
I've also given comments that I see incorporated in the minutes, and I'm prepared to move forward.
I'm also ready to move forward, and Heidi, thank you for your work in getting these done.
Okay, I'd accept a motion.
So I'll move to approve the minutes dated July 7, 2020.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye.
Bill, your turn.
Yeah.
You know, did we get a vote? I did not see a vote sheet.
It came in later.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I'll do this. So I'll move to approve the minutes dated July 9th, 2020.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye. Heidi, could I please ask you to check? I'm getting a little bit of feedback that's making it difficult to hear. Could you just please check to see that lines are muted at this time so that we can hear one another? Thank you. July 14th?
I move to approve the minutes dated July 14, 2020.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye.
And I'll make the next motion to approve the minutes dated August 11, 2020.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye. Okay, thank you. The next item that is on our agenda is an agreement for a Notre Dame Special Resource Officer. Mr. Mayo phoned me a short time ago to say that some of my colleagues still had some questions on contract language. And if it's acceptable, Joe and Bill, we will defer this until our next meeting, which is August 25th. I understand that Mr. Mayo has spoken with the chief, and deferring the item until that date will not present an issue.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. The next item of business on our agenda are police candidate votes. Members of the public may recall that 2 weeks ago, the board had the opportunity to meet and interview 3 candidates for police officer appointments. At this point, I would like to recognize Chief David Jones to make a recommendation to the board.
Good evening. I just want to verify that you can hear me.
We can,
Okay,
thank you.
Perfect. So I'm pleased that we're once again able to bring you such a highly qualified candidates for consideration for appointment as police officers. The application process for these candidates began in the spring of 2019 when they took the state civil service exam, placing them on this eligibility list for the town of Hingham. All 3 candidates passed an in-depth background investigation, underwent a police panel interview, and then a public interview with the Board of Selectmen. All of them performed admirably during each of these phases and bring a vast array of experience with them. Griffin Moriarty is a 2020 graduate of the Massachusetts Maritime Academy, a born firefighter, and an explosive ordnance disposal specialist in the Massachusetts Army National Guard. Kevin Nguyen is a 2017 graduate of Westfield State University, where he initially became involved with the Hingham Police Department as an intern. He currently works for us as a part-time records clerk and as a special police officer. Daniel Goldstein is currently enrolled at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and is working towards completing his bachelor's degree. He also works for the department as an assistant harbor master and a special police officer. All of these candidates came highly recommended and have shown themselves to be true professionals during their backgrounds and interviews. I would like to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that conditional offers of employment be offered to Griffin Moriarty, Kevin Nguyen, and Daniel Goldstein. I'm confident that these three candidates will be an asset to our team at the Hingham Police Department and the community as a whole. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Chief. I'll first turn to Joe Fisher for comments.
I've read the material that was submitted on behalf of the three candidates. I've reviewed my notes from the interviews that we had. And I got to tell you, I am just so impressed with these three candidates. Their composure, their excitement to be working for the town of Hingham and specifically for the police department, and their commitment to the community just shines through. So I have no reservations moving forward with the appointment of these three candidates.
Thank you. Bill?
Oh, you're muted, Bill.
Okay, great. I'm unmuted. Yeah, if I could just have a couple of minutes. You know, I've done some personal research into all three of these gentlemen, and you know, Mr. Nguyen, I've spoken with several members of the department, and they speak so highly of you and the work you're already doing for the HPD, and I just know you're gonna be a great addition. And yeah, I've looked at your resume and your background, and I think you're going to be a great addition to the Hingham Police Department, and happy to support your appointment. Mr. Goldstein, I see you on the line as well. You know, you're going to be now. You will be the third family on the HPD. So we've got, you know, the Tracy brothers, the Lobianco brothers, and now we'll have you and your brother on the HPD. And I think that speaks so much volume of not only the families that you come from, but it speaks volumes of the department, that you're going to have brothers working together, three sets of them, which is amazing. I know you've done a lot of work down at the harbor, and you're going to be a natural fit for the job. And to Griffin Moriarty, he on the line. Griff, I've known you since you were about 12 years old, and you know, I got to tell you, Griff, as my brother and I spoke about you, you know, I think you were born to be a police officer.
This is my buddy.
And you will be a tremendous, tremendous asset to HPD as well. And I'm proud to be on this board to appoint you, since I've known you since you were for a long time and since you were about 12. So really, really proud of these three gentlemen here, and happy to make these appointments.
Thank you, Bill. I would echo both of my colleagues' comments. All three candidates are qualified. We set the bar pretty high in Hingham, and each candidate has exceeded that bar. We have all read all of the materials. These candidates have gone through a vigorous process. I find all elements of it very helpful. In particular, I find that when we get input from people from other communities who serve on panels, I think that also just, again, is a testament to our process and the caliber of the candidates. Chief, thank you for bringing these candidates forward. My understanding is that upon a successful vote from the board tonight, they would be entering the academy. Would that be in 2 weeks? Am I remembering that correctly?
Dave, you're still muted. Oh, there you go.
There we go. That fixed it. Their orientation for the academy is the end of August, and then they'll actually start the academy, which is the State Police Academy in New Braintree, for September 27th.
Yeah, and Chief, just if you could for a moment, could you please just, inform the public as to the process that these three officers will go through in terms of the academy, and then how they continue their training once their time at the academy is concluded?
Absolutely. So basically, before they can start the academy, they have to pass a medical exam. They then have to take a psychological screening test and pass that successfully as well. They then go to the state has a physical abilities test, a PAT test that they run them through. It's like an obstacle course that simulates some conditions they might encounter on the job. Like there's a set of stairs, a window, they have to go through a wall, etc. So when they go to the orientation, they'll also be given an entry-level physical test by the academy, which is different. It's based on the Cooper standard, which are by age and gender, and like bench press, sit-ups, things of that nature for that test. They'll then start the academy. It's the State Police Academy in New Braintree is holding a municipal class, which we've sent officers to before. They run a great program there. It's just about a little over 5 months. They have to live there Monday through Friday. They can come home on the weekends. And when they graduate from the academy, they'll go through a field training program, which is give or take about 3 months, where they're assigned with a field training officer who's specially trained in training new officers. They'll be paired up with them for 3 months. And once they're cleared from that program, they'll be out on the road. So then, just like every officer, they'll have to do the annual in-service training and any mandatory trainings that we have.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
At this point, I would like to open it up. If there is a member of the public who has a question or wishes to make a comment, as a reminder, please address all questions or comments to the chair, and please state your name and address before asking your question or making a comment. For those of you joining by video, you can use the raised hand function. For those of you that are joining by telephone, Heidi, if you could perhaps again just open those lines. Is there anyone who has a question or would like to make a comment with respect to the police officer appointments? Okay, seeing none, I would accept a motion.
I found my vote sheet, and I'm happy to make that motion.
I'm glad you found it, Bill. These, I'm
was-
excited if you make the motion.
Came in late. I'm very proud to make this motion, by the way. I make a motion to extend a conditional offer of employment to Mr. Kevin Nagoon, Mr. Daniel Goldstein, and Mr. Griffin Moriarty as permanent police officers for the town of Hingham. This offer is contingent upon the successful passing of all required medical and psychological screening examinations and all other requirements related to, but not necessarily limited to, the following: successful passing of the required medical examination, successful passing of the required physical abilities test, also known as the PAT, successful passing of the required psychological screening process, successful passing of all other requirements for entrance into the police academy, entering into a satisfactory agreement with the town of Hingham relative to repayment of the $4,600 recruit training fee and cost of any initially issued police equipment if you cease employment with the town of Hingham Police Department within the first 3 years, successful completion of the police academy as determined by the police chief, any and all other requirements as mandated by law or regulation. Should the candidates fail to successfully complete all of these conditions as determined in the sole discretion of the town, then this conditional appointment shall be considered null and void. To the extent necessary, any offer of employment shall be considered rescinded.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call vote. Joe Fisher,
Aye.
Bill Ramsey?
Aye.
Mary Power? Aye. Mr. Goldstein, Mr. Nguyen, Mr. Moriarty, congratulations and welcome to the Hingham Police Department. We're delighted that you're joining our team.
Thank you very much.
I do not want to put any of our three new officers on the spot, but if any of you would like to make a comment at this time, I would be happy to, if again, use the raised hand function. No pressure here, but I just, if you wanted to say something, I'd like to give you that opportunity. Yes, Mr. Nguyen? And could you please again give, I know we've heard your name, but could you please give your name and address for the meeting record, please?
Yes, Kevin Nguyen, 3 Melody Lane, Hingham. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you all for voting us in, and I look forward to working for Hingham.
We look forward to it too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great.
Anyone else? No pressure here.
You're putting the pressure on there.
Yes, sir. Mr. Goldstein, again with your name and address, please.
Yeah, Daniel Goldstein, 85 Free Street, Hingham. I just want to say thank you for this amazing opportunity, and I'm looking forward to working for the Hingham Police Department.
Thank you. Mr. Moriarty, no pressure.
Griff, got to say something.
We have unmuted your microphone if you wish to say something.
Griffin Moriarty, 89 Strathmore Road, Boston. I'd just like to thank you all for the opportunity, and I look forward to working in the town.
Great.
Thank you. And best of luck to all three of you in the academy. And again, Chief Jones, thanks to you and everyone who was involved in this process. We truly appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much.
And our next item of business actually relates to public safety. This is a vote to enter into a contract with Kaestle Boos in connection with the feasibility study for the proposed public safety building. I might ask Tom if you could please provide an overview of this, and then Joe, as the board's liaison to this and someone who's been very involved in the process, I just also invite you to share comments and perspective about this step in the process and what it means.
Sure.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mary. So as you all know, back at town meeting here in June, the town meeting authorized funding for a feasibility study and preliminary design effort at the 335 Lincoln site, which is the site of the potential new joint public safety facility. That would be the police headquarters and the North Hingham Fire Station. And that RFQ was issued a couple of months ago. We received 11 proposals, which is an outstanding response rate. People definitely wanted to come and help us with this project. We interviewed, so I say we, a team handpicked by myself. I identified as folks that could help with the procurement and the review process of these proposals were myself, real estate attorney for the town, Susan Murphy, general counsel for the town, John Coughlin, assistant town administrator, Michelle Monsegur, town engineer, J.R. Frey, and Selectman Joe Fisher, as well as the Hingham Police Chief, interim police chief, Dave Jones, and Hingham Fire Chief, Steve Murphy. So that group reviewed all 11 proposals. We selected 4 firms for interview. We performed those interviews, and I'll let Joe speak to what we heard and what we saw and read in these applications. There were many very qualified, very able firms interested in working with us. Kaestle Boos rose to the top, and as a result, I am recommending to the Board of Selectmen that as your Chief Procurement Officer, that you enter into a contract with Kaestle Boos to help us with that effort, the feasibility study and preliminary design work. But I'll turn it over to Joe Fisher.
Thank you. So, Tom, you're exactly right. We had high quality applicants in this process who responded. It was really very impressive. Kaestle Boos rose to the top in a very competitive process. They were involved in planning and working on the Plainville Public Safety Building, the Mansfield Public Safety Building, the Needham Public Safety Building, and the Public Safety Building in Cumberland, Rhode Island. So they've got a lot of experience. The Needham one is not estimated to be completed next year. The others have already been completed. They really demonstrated a commitment to this town and to the process, making sure that they would be assuring us that they would be responsive to the needs of the community, to the needs of the police and fire departments, and I guess not most importantly, but very importantly, committed to the schedule, because this part of the process needs to be completed in time for a hopefully scheduled town meeting in the fall, where the town will vote whether or not to move forward and exercise its option to purchase this property and then to build the public safety building. So there's a tight time schedule, and this company is prepared to work with the town to move forward and meet that schedule. So I was really very impressed with the folks we met when we did the interview. And like Tom, I am very pleased to move forward. And for those who are lamenting that we might not see enough of the Patriots this year, Kaestle Boos is headquartered in Foxborough, so that at least we'll have a taste of Foxborough, if not the games.
That's right.
So, but in all seriousness, this company has really demonstrated, I think, the commitment and skill that we need to move to the next step.
The one thing, Mary, that I forgot to mention is that the group I mentioned, I had unanimous recommendations from to recommend Kaestle Boos. So that's in large part, that's the basis of my recommendation to you.
And Tom, I forget, did you mention that we had 2 officers from the police department on our committee, or did you just mention 1?
I'm sorry, you're right. And Lieutenant Ryan O'Shea also sat on the process and was a big help. That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Joe.
Either Tom or Joe, just, for the benefit of the public who, heard at town meeting that we asked for money to do this study, and now tonight we're considering entering into a contract. Could you just describe some of the activities that are going to be conducted between now and the fall, just in terms of kind of the scope of what's going to be taking place?
Sure. So it'll be, in large part, it'll come in two pieces. The first is the feasibility study. They'll be determining, is the site feasible to hold a public safety facility? Are the soils sufficient? What about the size and shape of the lot? That type of thing. There'll be a lot of investigation and engineering type work that will go into that. And then coincident with that, the architectural firm and its subconsultants will work towards designing a preliminary design, putting together some preliminary concept designs that will help us understand the scope of the project we're looking to undertake. That will include things like interviewing, all the stakeholders involved. I've already seen, quite frankly, a draft of what that process might look like, and the questionnaires involved, and how we go about gathering the data we need in order to identify and inform the decisions about what that facility is going to need as a modern police headquarters and fire substation or fire station. So that's what will happen.
And Tom, just to add to that, what's in our RFQ, that the next steps in terms of a site plan with the building location, parking, access, landscape concepts,
Right.
preliminary building plans, sections, elevations, cost estimates, construction and project costs, an updated project schedule and a work plan, and updating permitting issues and a checklist and milestones that will have to be achieved. All those things are going to be reviewed and prepared so that the town can itself make an informed decision at town meeting this fall.
That's right.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Bill, do you have any questions for Joe or for Tom about this contract?
Bill, you're muted. Sorry.
Great. All right. Excellent. Yeah. Joe, you mentioned quickly, and it's a bit of a rhetorical question, but for the public's benefit, can you just go over what facilities this company's worked on, and I think you said Needham, and
I said, so Plainville, Mansfield, the Needham one is in process, estimated as of 2021. And Cumberland, Rhode Island are the four that I noted. I believe that there may be more, but those are the top.
Hudson as well.
Yep.
great. And my follow-up question is, and these were joint headquarter facilities as well as
Are the police and fire? Do you know the answer to that, Tom?
So Mansfield was a joint public safety DPW complex. Hudson was a police DPW headquarters. Needham was a public safety joint police fire, and Cumberland was a joint police fire.
So Tom, when you say joint police fire, I guess what I'm trying to get at is what, we're going to have police headquarters, which will involve booking, detention, fire headquarters, but we're also going to have a fire, a North Hingham fire deployment apparatus facility. Right. Just want to confirm that these folks have worked in that environment before, where you're going to have multiple moving parts to it.
Yes, they have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they brought up specifically with respect to fire, the number of bays, how they should be situated, and curb cut issues to make sure that there's good access. So yes, I believe they've got the experience specifically with respect to police and fire.
And they'll also build. They'll take up, where there are opportunities for joint operations, like joint operational opportunities, like meeting rooms perhaps. But then also where things need to necessarily be separate, like you said, detention space needs to be clearly in a police controlled environment. So they have all that relevant experience.
Great, yeah, like police detention is going to be separate from fire, and
that's right,
and fire deployment apparatus. Great, thank
you. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Tom, you sent out the packet of materials, and this agenda item, there was a 60-page document and a 40-page document, and all of the different contracts. The RFQ was very thorough. The response from Kaestle Boos was extensive. Yep, there's the prop.
There they were.
Counsel for the town, John Coughlin, as always, helped out with the contract and drafting the contract language. All in all, I know that that's been a lot of work to do in a short period of time. Town meeting was only about 6 weeks ago. And I would just add my appreciation to everybody who played a role in having this happen. We do want to move ahead and purchase this land if the site is feasible. And this is an important step. Heidi, at this point, if you could open up the phones, I would just ask that if any member of the public has a question or wishes to make a comment about this agenda item, please seek recognition by using the raised hand function, or if you are calling by phone, by stating your name and address for the record. Heidi, I'll give you a minute to just open up phone lines. Heidi, it looks, according to my little dashboard on Zoom, that people calling by phone, I'm not sure that those lines are open. I just want to, again, make sure that if anyone wishes to ask a question or make a comment, they can.
Yep, I'm clicking unmute on everyone.
Okay, all right, so that's fine, all right. So seeing no questions or comments, I would accept a motion.
Just before we do that, I want to make, let's talk about money for a second. So this is Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but what the proposed fee is for this is $175,000.
In total, yes, that's right.
In total. And we had, the RFQ allowed bids up to $200,000. So this is below that. And this is for the phase 1 feasibility study, schematic design, and we look forward to working with the company.
Thank you, Joe.
Right.
Joe, would you like to make a motion?
I do. I would move to authorize the town administrator to execute the attached agreement between the town of Hingham and Kaestle Boos Associates, Inc. for design services.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye. Tom, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next item of business on the agenda is the COVID-19 update, Tom?
Okay.
So if I can interrupt for 1 second, Mary?
Yes.
I don't know if you wanted to do this, but since we just talked about the public safety, we've got the committee nominations for that committee to
Sure.
be working. So this would be a natural progression, or you can put that off till later.
I'm so glad you suggested that, Joe. So I'm actually going to jump down to item number 8 on the agenda, which are appointments. And
I'm sorry, I haven't submitted my names for this.
Oh, okay.
okay, so it sounds
Yeah.
like maybe we are not ready this evening to make those appointments.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll need to.
One idea would be to hear some names, and if you need to pause, we take a pause. If you're able to move forward, we move forward.
Okay. I didn't.
I will leave that. I will. It would be important to me on these appointments that all three of the colleagues are prepared to vote tonight. And certainly if anyone is not ready, we know how important these appointments are. I'm happy to defer these until the 25th.
I would say I agree, and if you can't do it, we can't do it. There's right. So there's less, the Kaestle Boos is going to have work to do in the feasibility study. So there's less direct need from a board perspective for the feasibility study portion, because that's all engineering work. So I think there's a little bit of time leeway there. But if you want to discuss some names, you could discuss names. If you don't want to, that's fine too.
So Mary, would you like to have a discussion now? Or would you like to...
I will, it's again important to me that we're all ready to move ahead.
So just to put this in context, we're talking about a committee established by town meeting of 7 candidates, 7 members, and the town moderator selects the majority. He selects 4 of the candidates, and then we select 3 members. We had a lot of good names. Good names, incredible people who showed up. I would.
Hey, Joe, before, I just want to ask, and I beg your pardon for the interruption. I just want to check procedurally if we're all ready to move ahead tonight with appointments and discussions of candidates. I want to be sensitive that we've all had the time to reflect and have conversations with the town administrator, and I'm getting the sense that maybe we're not all ready.
Okay, then I will hold off.
Okay.
Well, let me just ask. So, Tom, we have 3 appointments to this committee. Is that correct?
That's right. And the moderator has 4.
All right. So obviously, you and I have not. Okay. Mary, if you wanted, we can do this in open session if you'd like. I'm okay with it.
Okay. Then Joe, I guess what I might suggest, and it sounded like perhaps you had some thoughts that you wanted to offer. I'm actually interested in that because knowing how involved you've been in the Kaestle Boos work, it seems to me, I'd be very interested in hearing your perspective. Perhaps we can have a discussion, and if we feel like we're ready to move forward tonight with a vote, we will. And if we're not ready to move forward tonight with a vote, we won't.
Right.
Great. So, I have been involved in the process, and all 3 of us were involved in interviewing candidates along with the town moderator. I know he's planning, he will be making 4 appointments. There are 3 candidates that stood out to me that I was going to recommend to this board that would be our 3 nominees or 3 appointees to the committee. The first one is Robert Garrity. He is a retired attorney, recently retired, 40 years of legal experience, representing numerous public agencies and development. He's a former member of the Hingham Country Club Development Management Committee, former chair of the Hingham School Building Committee for the high school and South Elementary. former chair of the Hingham Building Committee for the new DPW building facilities and the new athletic fields, the Carlson Field. The second person I wanted to nominate is Donna Smallwood. She has a master's in urban planning. She's a retired transportation planner. She's currently a member of the Master Plan Committee, and she served on the advisory committee from 2013 to 2019. I believe she was the chair of advisory from 2018 to 2019. And the third person that I wanted to recommend is Andy Touchette. He has a degree in civil engineering. He's a senior project manager, and he's also an associate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Those three, I think, bring talents, skills. They would bring talents and skills to this committee, as well as a commitment, as well as also indicating that they've got the time to move forward in really the tight time schedule that we've got to make sure that this plan moves forward in a manner that will satisfy our town meeting requirements and also meet the requirements of our police department and our fire department, so that we've got the right building, the right facility at the right location, built at the right time in the right budget.
Thank you. Bill, would you care to make comments?
Yeah, so I mean, all three candidates are strong candidates.
And I just hope you didn't
They're
take
very
this
good. All three candidates are very good candidates. I'd like some more time to consider.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. You know, I would say, you know, reflecting back on the interviews that we all had the good fortune of participating in, we had so many candidates this year who came forward offering service to the town, and it continues to be a source of just real inspiration that so many are coming forward. As I think about the building committee, and I would just offer, my colleague has offered the names of three very strong candidates. It strikes me that on this building committee, it would be a good idea to have not only some technical expertise, but also I think to the extent that the committee has experience with or has membership of people who have been on a town building committee before, that feels advantageous to me, particularly given the speed at which this group will work. Also recognizing that there is going to be a very strong and very concerted effort to, you know, with the town government process through the advisory committee hearings and town meeting, it strikes me that having some expertise on sort of that town meeting process is also very helpful. What I'm going to suggest is that we put this on our agenda for August 25th. I would also suggest that between now and then, we all give some thought to being able at that meeting to perhaps make some additional appointments. Again, if each of us can have conversations with town administration, I think then Tom, you and Michelle can kind of let us know when we're ready to move ahead with some appointments. Excuse me?
Sorry, I would ask the chair that we may want to consider having an earlier meeting or a sooner meeting than what you just indicated, because I think this committee does need to get together, move forward, particularly with, they're going to be very involved in planning for the town meeting that's going to be coming up in the fall. I really don't want to delay that much in getting these appointments made.
Okay, Joe, I think I hear what you're saying, and I will speak to Tom. I have some scheduling conflicts next week, and I don't know that I would be able to be available for a meeting next week. I will follow up with Tom on that, and I hear what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We've just talked about appointments. I think maybe now we could please go to the COVID-19 update.
Sure. So COVID-19 cases, Massachusetts remains in phase 3, step 1 at this time. As of Wednesday, August 12th, the Department of Public Health was reporting 291 COVID-19 cases in Hingham. There have been less than 5 new cases reported in the last 14 days. Starting this week, the DPH released a new map, color-coded by town, which shows the average daily incident rate per 100,000 people. Hingham is currently in the white category because the town has had less than 5 reported cases in the last 14 days. Some new guidance that we've received is, as of August 7th, Governor Baker has reduced the maximum occupancy levels of indoor and outdoor events in Massachusetts due to concerns over an uptick of COVID-19 cases in some communities. Occupancy for indoor events has been reduced to a maximum capacity of 25 people, and outdoor events have been reduced to a maximum capacity of 50 people. Regarding our community's continued vigilance, I would say that even though the vast majority of communities in Massachusetts are experiencing low COVID-19 case numbers, we encourage everyone to continue to please follow the guidelines set forth by the CDC and the Mass DPH regarding social distancing and the wearing of face coverings. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. Joe or Bill, any questions for Tom on the COVID-19 update?
I don't, no.
Tom, just real quick, I don't know if you know the answer to this. Are we seeing, are we seeing a spike in Hingham? Or are we seeing a decrease? Do you know? I've been trying to, obviously I try to look at the data online. I get a lot of questions about it. But we got an email. Actually, I got an email about it the other day about the spike and the percentage in relation to school reopening plans. But do you know about that? Are we seeing a decrease overall, or?
For the town?
Yes. In comparison to other towns in the South Shore.
Yeah, so for the town, we're down 4 cases from the report that was out for the previous week. I think it was 4 cases, maybe 5, which moved us from, so the new map, color-coded map program allows for 4 stages, a white color, a green, yellow, and red. And the white basically says that your town is in very good position regarding COVID. That said, there are still 291 confirmed cases in the town. So, and those colors, by the way, are they vary by very small numbers. So an uptick in something as simple as 8 cases would move us from white up to, I believe, yellow. So just bypassing green. So it doesn't take much to move within their with their new color scheme on their map. But yeah, we had a slight downtick as of yesterday, which is, I guess, good news.
That is good news. Yeah, and I know that the governor put out some guidelines on fall sports today that will impact probably high school sports as well as youth sports. So
right,
I haven't had a chance to read it, but it'll be interesting what exactly the guidelines are. So thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
You bet. Yep.
Does anyone any questions or comments from the public on the COVID-19 update? Okay, seeing none, the next item of business on the agenda is public comment. I would like to read a statement before opening it up for public comment. The Hingham Board of Selectmen encourages community engagement and welcomes questions and comments as agenda items are discussed at the meeting. In addition, we have set aside up to 15 minutes right now for public comment on items that fall under the purview of the Board of Selectmen and are not already on tonight's agenda. If any guests wish to speak, please seek to be recognized. Once recognized, state your name and address your comments to the chair. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker and must relate to topics within the scope of the responsibility of the Board of Selectmen. Speakers are encouraged to present their remarks in a respectful manner and not to indulge in personalities. The public comment period is not a time for debate by the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen is not adopting or endorsing any of the comments made during the public comment period. At this point, is there anyone who would like to make a public comment? Okay, seeing none, the final item of business on our agenda this evening are Selectmen and Town Administrator reports. Tom?
You want me to go first? Sure.
Yes,
So We did receive a correspondence from the Hingham Housing Authority that I'd like to read in its entirety. It's just under a page regarding the Thaxter Street housing facility. Dear residents, as you are aware, we have been working extremely hard to ensure your safety and reduce exposure to COVID-19. This pandemic has created a health emergency throughout the entire world. Our decisions are difficult and not always popular, but they are made with every resident's health, safety, and welfare as my highest priority. We are extending the closing of the community rooms and common spaces until September 1st, 2020, or until further notice. Administration offices will begin to be staffed at full capacity on August 3rd, 2020, but will continue to remain closed to the public until October 5th, 2020, or until further notice. This is, by the way, from Executive Director James Marathis. I'm reading it as he wrote it. I appreciate all that you have done to maintain social distancing by continuing to adhere to state and local guidance requiring face coverings whenever in public areas and in common spaces. I urge you to continue frequent hand washing and limit your attendance at any gatherings which could expose you to COVID-19. I am pleased to announce the Hingham Housing Authority has been selected by the Department of Housing and Community Development to receive a $100,000 placemaking grant, which was submitted in May 2020. This grant will enable Hingham Housing to create outdoor community space for cooking and gatherings, as well as install gazebos for shaded outdoor sitting, install new computers for residents to have internet access, and make it possible to continue the improvements to our community building. We are extremely fortunate to receive this award and look forward to working with you to create an improved living environment for all residents. We intend on seeking additional funding from the community preservation to cover any budget shortfall. We'll be hosting a residents meeting on September 22nd to review new policies presented to the Board of Housing Commissioners, as well as implement a schedule to establish a new tenants association. I just wanted to pass that on to the general public that there was a sizable grant and some proper COVID-related measures being taken over at Thaxter.
Thank you, Tom. Anything else to add this evening?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Joe?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm, Tom, my understanding that the Hingham Farmers Market is now going to be live in person at the Station Street parking lot starting August 15th, Saturday, August 15th, and I think continuing through November. They're going to be following very strict COVID-related guidelines, and they are all looking forward to the residents of Hingham and other communities coming and buying and enjoying the farmers market.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. The farmers market, as you all know, has been operating under strict guidelines regarding pre-ordering and pickups remaining in vehicles, that kind of thing. We're now expanding it and opening it up to foot traffic. It's in keeping with the state's DPH guidelines, and we're looking forward to some semblance of getting back to normal, and hopefully not having to roll these measures back.
Yep. That's it. Thank you.
Bill?
Just real quick, want to give a thank you to Heidi for stepping up this week. I know we were shorthanded in the office, so thank you for all your efforts. It was a busy week, so thank you. And Tom as well. Thank you as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
I had a couple of things. First of all, just with respect to water, hopefully residents have either seen the signage or received a phone call that effective August 8th, the Weir River Water System has enacted a water ban. It is not unusual that happen at this time. The most important piece of this is that irrigation systems are not allowed to be used during a water ban. I know for many residents in town and many businesses in town, you may have those automatically set. You set it at the beginning of the season, you kind of forget about it. We would please ask for your cooperation in that. As everyone is aware, it is very hot. Water consumption has been particularly high because of COVID and more people being in households and more people being at home. So as the summer progresses, we would please ask for cooperation with respect to that. I would also just report out to my colleagues that our new water superintendent, Russell Tierney, has been working to see about the possibility of beginning and completing water main replacement projects prior to this winter.
That's right.
Just so people know, at the beginning of in 2019, Aquarian had a capital plan, and they had a number of water main projects that were scheduled for completion. Under the Good Husbandry statute, the water main projects that were in process were completed, but there were a couple of projects that were either ready to go or ready to be bid that did not commence last year. So we are considering those the priority water main projects for replacement. And Superintendent Tierney is working closely with Town Engineer J.R. Fry, as well as Suez, to try to complete some of that work and coordinate it with road building. Superintendent Tierney is also coordinating with Hull because there are a number of roads in Hull being resurfaced, and that often requires some adjustments to some of the water infrastructure. The second thing I just wanted to update you both on, and I'm sorry that Michelle is not here this week, but last week, two interns who had been doing some work with the town completed a capital study. And I've been involved, I've been interviewed by them a few times. We went through the presentation last week, and it was also shared with members of the advisory committee and the capital outlay committee. The purpose of this study was to really kind of compare how Hingham approaches capital relative to our benchmark communities. And I think some of the data and some of the practices in other communities will be really informative to our board and to the town as we move forward, particularly with respect to capital projects that are funded through warrant articles. I think that was something that, you know, Joe, you may recall last year at the beginning of the year, we talked about looking a little more closely at the vetting process for those projects. And I think this study and the work is going to help inform policy decisions. No decisions have been made, but my hope would be that at an upcoming Board of Selectmen meeting, we could perhaps get some of the highlights of this study, because it was really very, very well done. I would also just add a third item, which is that people may have noticed that the state of Massachusetts for the first quarter of the year kept state aid flat for the first quarter.
Right.
And, that's essentially kind of a placeholder because the state has really not been able, the state doesn't have an FY21 budget yet. I would just suggest to both of my colleagues and to the town that I think as we go through this first quarter, we will have a better sense from the state, but I think it's highly unlikely that local aid will remain flat. I think the cuts in Q2, 3, and 4 are probably going to be deeper because Q1 is essentially the same as the first quarter of last year. Obviously, the state is still trying to determine whether there will be any sort of federal reimbursements related to COVID, which in large account will drive their state budget. And the last thing, I just want to give a shout out. We, in our household, all the registered voters got notices about voting by mail. And I know that our town clerk, Eileen McCracken, and her team have been receiving a number of applications for both the primary and the general election. With Tom's help, they've secured additional help to make sure that all those requests are processed and ballots are sent out, and so that people can vote by mail. There is just a very large increase in the number of people taking advantage of that right now. And I think we're just very fortunate that Eileen and her team are so skilled and experienced. And it is also just nice to see so many people interested in voting and engaging in the process this year. So
Yeah, I just add to that, Mary, just some color. Eileen McCracken and her team have processed over 3,000 applications, sending returning ballots to over 3,000 voters in town. They continue to process them as they come in. She and I had a conversation with the Secretary of State yesterday, who's comfortable with the process as she laid it out. So.
terrific. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick look at the vote list to make sure. I think we are all set. So this concludes the Board of Selectmen meeting for August 13th. I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Bill's.
Can you
Oh, you're
second?
muted, Bill.
Tom, I'm just procedurally, Tom, can you second? Okay.
I'm second. I'm good now.
Just want to make sure I'm doing this right. All those in favor, Joe,
Good.
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Mary, aye.